Minister Blaney, what was your reaction to hear 10 more people stopped on their way, apparently, to fight with jihadists overseas on the weekend?
Well, it sure is a large number, Carole, and you remembered our head of intelligence, CSIS, saying that there was an increase in the number of high-risk travelers. So we know the threat is real and it's there, and it's always shocking to see young, especially young individual being to travel to commit a terrorist attack. But on the other side, there's a good view on that one. And as you've mentioned, the families were involved with communities, with the police, local police. So we are able now to we have intervened. So certainly, somehow I feel relieved that we were able to intervene, to intercept those individuals. But also, it tells us how much we have to remain vigilant on the terrorist threat on our very own ground, Carole.
What can you tell us about the intentions of the 10?
Well, as you know, their passports have been confiscated. This is the result of ongoing investigation that are happening throughout the country. Of course, I would leave all the detail to the RCMP. These are operational matters. You know, as Public Safety Minister, I am there to lay out the policy, make sure that they have the resources and the legislative tool. You may be interested to know that my predecessor in 2013 had the Combating Terrorism Act adopted. So these kinds of law are helping our police officer to do the kind of operation they did and keep us safe and prevent us from exporting terrorists who once back could represent an even bigger threat.
Quebec's Public Safety Minister, Lise Thériault, says she's concerned, she's reported as saying she's concerned that the 10 who were picked up in this case are second-generation Canadians born and educated in Quebec. Do you share those concerns?
I certainly do, and I work in close conjunction with Minister Thériault. I intend to call a ministerial conference at the beginning of summer, specifically on the issue of anti-terrorism and radicalization. We are now facing individuals who are radicalizing Canadians, and that's why the first pillar of our counter-terrorism strategy is prevention. We need to intervene at earlier stage. Why? Because we can prevent those terrorist attacks from happening, and we can prevent those individuals from being criminalized, persecuted, charged, and serving sentences. So that's why we are working on counter-narrative, reaching out to community, and working with those individuals who may be influenced, have a bad influence from individuals. And with the tools we have, with the current law that will be adopted hopefully in the coming weeks, we will be able to lay charges on those radicalizers, especially those who are promoting terrorism. That's in the bill. There's many provisions that will increase the efficiency of the police and law enforcement community to keep us safer.
Well, Bill C-51 already allows for a lower threshold of an arrest. It allows for preventative detention. How early an intervention are you talking about? When you say you want to intervene at an earlier stage, how early do you mean, and with what evidence?
Well, Carole, we have intelligence. CSIS is working on the ground, and when they are made aware of individuals who are being lured into radicalization, as we speak now, they cannot go, they can talk to the parent, but they cannot take disruptive measures to prevent those people from being radicalized. So with C-51, this will be all legal within the scope of our Constitution and our law to prevent, to take action to prevent individuals from being lured into radicalization. And this is part of our broader strategy of preventing radicalization. We have to destroy this appealing message from terrorists. That's by articulating a strong counter-narrative. We are working. I've been meeting with my British counterpart, American as well. The New Zealander and actually Australian are preparing an anti-terrorism conference. So by working together, we are developed to take out the bolt of this myth, the attraction that these kind of terrorists are appealing to vulnerable individuals.
What is the appeal?
The excitement, adventure, the rejection, the sense of that's what we're working on. That's why we need to develop a counter narrative. You know, we've already been studying this issue for 5 years now with the Kanishka project. Canada is at the leading edge now. It's time to take this expertise and turn it into action. We've seen some example of that lately in some project, and we want to see more. That's why I will sit down with my counterparts so we can move forward in building this awareness of the society that conduct parents to take action to prevent their members from falling into radicalization.
Well, that's a question a lot of people have. I'll quote Lise Theriault once again, saying today, it's hard to conceive, quote, it's hard to conceive that a young person who grew up here is succeeding well, who goes to school and is well integrated, will go to war, get on a plane, and go on the other side. And I imagine, as you said, you've been studying this for 5 years. What's your research telling you about why young, educated people in this country are willing to do that?
Well, one thing that our research is saying, Carole, is that there is no profile of terrorist. You can come from a whatever are the revenue, wherever you are a Canadian-born or a foreigner. The profile of a terrorist is very diverse. What we need to work on is on the motive. That's why we need to be able to identify at an early stage those individuals who are being radicalized, and more importantly, we have to work on those radicalizers. Those 10 individuals were different 6 months ago than what they are now. What has happened in the environment that has turned them into, let's say, a grown-up teenager, regular teenager, if I can put it that way, into people who are willing to risk their lives for a cause that sometimes they don't even fully understand. That's why we need to be able to lay charges on those, I would use the expression, who are preying on those individuals. That's what our anti-terrorism measure is doing by criminalizing the promotion of terrorism.
If I may, so we have 10 in Quebec this weekend. We had 2 last week, a number before that, I believe 6. Why do you think, I mean, what is your theory about why there are so many arrests of this nature in Quebec?
Well, as you know, Carole, there's been a lot last summer in other part of the country. This phenomenon is happening throughout the country. Sometimes we may see some peak in areas. This time, thanks to the support of the parents, we were able to prevent them from happening. So there are ongoing investigation. That's why we need to make sure that the resources and the legislative tools are there. That's our duty as politicians, obviously as Minister of Public Safety. That's why I must tell you, these kinds of operation makes me more convinced than ever that our anti-terrorism measures will better protect Canadians against those who want to harm us.
Yeah, in a few weeks, the Quebec government plans to introduce new legislation to fight homegrown radicalization. You're going to convene this ministerial conference. At the end of the day, what do you think it takes to prevent this kind of thing from happening?
You know, Carole, I'm in Ottawa here today, not so far from the National War Memorial, where Corporal Nathan Sérieux was shot by an individual. I saw the country. It was terrible. It was a shock for everyone. But in the days after, we saw the whole country coming together and rejecting violence, rejecting these hatred speech, standing together as a society. So we politicians, the law enforcement, but communities, families working together, we can overcome this challenge that is Canadian, and that's why we are committed to pursue in that direction and work with our partner. But we need we've seen it. This is a success because a family member has said enough is enough. We need to stop that. That's how we are on a road to succeed. But the risk is there, and we have to remain vigilant.
All right, we leave it there for time. Canada's Minister of Public Safety, Steven Blaney, joining me live from Ottawa. Thank you.
Merci.